Hello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive, and welcome to Divinely Decked Tarot and Oracle Reviews done Stacy style. And today we are exploring week 4 of our deck deep dive series that I've started. And this is where we explore the tarot, intuitive tarot, one card at a time. Welcome to Deck Deep Dives. This is where we slow down, listen to the cards, and build a real relationship with the deck beyond the guidebook. So for those of you who are just joining me, there are 3 other videos to watch prior to this one. And we are exploring the Under the Oak Tarot, and we're doing kind of a deck study on this. And so feel free to catch up and watch those videos in the playlist. And you can also continue to join us for today because you will get something out of it. So we are going to be exploring today from the point of the Minor Arcana, how this deck thinks. Last week, it was about how the deck feels. Now it's about how the deck thinks. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so for the purposes of today, I have separated out the Minor Arcana from the Major Arcana and the Royal cards. And what we're going to do today is we are going to connect the dots. We're focusing on the narrative and the progression of that narrative in terms of the Minor Arcana story, any repetition that happens within this deck, and kind of the meanings that we're connecting to over time. So what we're going to do today is as we're understanding how this deck tells particular stories and how those moments connect, evolve, and repeat, we are going to be pulling 3 cards at random. And I'm just going to say, if there are cards that we've already explored from the previous video, I'm going to just pull those out and select something else instead. But I want to try and explore 3 different Minor Arcana for this. And we've got some questions to ask this deck. So let's just sort of see what we've got here. Okay, 3 of Swords. I don't think that we connected with that one. 6 of Swords. I don't believe that we have fully connected with that one either. And 7 of Cups. But you know what? I want to have a different, let's do, we did 2 of Pentacles already. So let's do another suit. There we go, 10 of Pentacles. That works. All right. So based on these 3 cards, we'll just take a quick little gander. The 3 of Swords is very interesting. We don't see a heart in the center like we normally do. We're seeing a mask. And as you know, in this Under the Oak Tarot, we do have these statues that are coming through. And, you know, it's interesting. Are the statues part of her dream state, or is it a part of her waking state? And so we have this 3 of Swords. Normally it's the heart, but now it is a statue mask. We've got stars in its eyes, and all of the swords are the electricity that are going through the mask, going through the top part of this person. It's also interesting that the apex of all of the electricity is happening at the mouth and the throat, which is the throat chakra, finding your truth, speaking your truth, learning to communicate it in a creative way. And it really ties in with that sword energy. The swords is the realm of communication, as well as the realm of legal matters and intuition. We have snow all around it. Snow is purity. The snow has kind of broken away a little bit. And maybe we could even see this as the water underneath the snow and the ice, and that there is someone who is frozen just beneath the surface. That would be another interpretation that we could look at from that perspective. Let's take a look at the 10 of Pentacles. So here we have her with her blindfold off. So she is awake and aware. She's all in this beautiful greeny yellow color, and she's got all of these green orbs around her, a little blue orb here and a little kind of pinky orb. On the other side, she's definitely not alone. She's got her snakes of wisdom around her. She's got a beautiful little mouse that's helping her out. Actually, 3 mice, it looks like, that are her companions. She's laying in the fall foliage. So we're definitely getting the energy of harvest and, the end of summer into the fall space with her. All of the pentacles, these orbs and globes that are around her, are there to protect her. She looks like she's laying down, and her palms are open. So she's very connected to her energy levels. And these orbs, I feel, are placed in particular areas to address the chakras that we don't often think about. Oh, sorry, Fuzzy. I'm sorry, Morpheus. I just accidentally kicked him. He was under the table. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't see you. Oh, my heart is broken. I hate that. Now he thinks that he can't be with me. Oh, it hurts my heart. Okay, 10 of Pentacles. So the 7-star chakra system is the one that we are all pretty, familiar with. If you're familiar with a chakra system, that's kind of the natural normal one. But here we have the chakras that we don't often talk about. And we have chakras in our hands and our feet. We have chakras all around us in our energetic field. And so I feel like it's kind of tying us to this. And then let's take a look at our 7 of Cups. What an interesting 7 of Cups. There's a lot of busyness, busy energy, busy work, just like the 10 of Pentacles here. We're seeing a lot of stones, and it feels like a stone path or a stone pattern. And in between all the stone patterns, she's wearing her blindfold. She's definitely looking a bit overwhelmed because there's choice. Also, dreams and illusions, caught in the dream. So we have, this little fish-like creature here. We have a laurel wreath of flowers. We've got the moon in the center. We've got crystals. We've got a snake, Ouroboros, and we've got a building, a tower of sorts, sitting right here at that 10 of Cups energy. A lot of blue is coming up here, so that would make sense with the Cups energy. It's water, often representing water. It's an indigo color as well here. So again, a lot of nighttime energy that is happening versus daylight. And so there's just a lot. We've got a little bit of the green growth happening in amongst all of the stones. So let's start with the 3 of Swords. And I'm going to combine the deck now with all of the Major and the Minor Arcana and the royalty cards. We're going to shuffle them up. And what we're looking for today is what repeating pattern, cycle, or theme does the 3 of Swords represent when you appear in a reading with us? Is this a beginning, a middle, or ending energy? And is this something that builds, pauses, or resolves? So, interesting. So when we're dealing with the 3 of Swords and it shows up, what repeating pattern or cycle or theme is it representing when it appears in our reading? It represents the intuition, the stork coming through with that viable information. It is encouraging you to always go within, to always look for the intuitive component of things. That yes, the heart feels what it feels, but you want to always ask the intuitive question because there's always a reason behind why things are showing up. And the High Priestess is a Major Arcana card, which basically says this indicates an overarching theme for your life, which also indicates this is an overarching tool that you always have at your fingertips, that you can dive in and connect to that intuitive space and that intuitive energy. Also, the High Priestess symbolizes a lot of secrets, things that are not to be revealed or not revealing itself. And when 3 of Swords comes up, I feel like it's asking you to give an honest look to what you might be hiding from yourself when you're working with this deck and you're asking the question. 3 of Swords says, okay, so go a little deeper. What are you hiding from yourself? This betrayal or this heartbreak that has occurred, what is it covering up about you that you're afraid to know the truth about? So that secret's revealed. That's really interesting. So is this a beginning, middle, or ending energy? I want to say this feels... It feels like a middle energy in this case, because the 3 of Swords, when it comes up, there's usually an issue that has already occurred. And so this is the reminder to step into the intuitional space to understand why it has occurred. So I would say this is a middle energy. And is this something that builds, pauses, or resolves? Definitely resolves. 100%. Intuition is always going to resolve it because it's going to give you something to work towards. When you show up, Three of Swords, what part of the larger story is being highlighted right now? This is interesting. Three of Cups. So it likes its three energy. It likes that collaborative energy. It likes the creative flow. But when we are talking about that Three of Cups space, this is fascinating to me. So Three of Cups, it's a card of community, getting together, shooting the shit, chit-chatting. It can also indicate a little bit of gossip, on the negative side of things. It can indicate a little bit of gossip. So when the Three of Swords is showing up, what part of the larger story is being highlighted right now? It's what part did you play? What part are others playing in this situation? Because this is not an either or, it's a both and situation. You play your part and so do others in your routine, in your situation, in your circumstance. There's always a reason, right? And we are here to have, as the human experience, we are here to have experiences with others. We're here to learn about ourselves and our soul journey through the lens of our connection with others. And so that Three of Cups energy, I feel, is coming up because there's always going to be another person, another layer to what it is that you're experiencing. So that Three of Swords comes up and says, okay, so who are the other players in the mix? And what role are they playing in this betrayal or in this heartbreak or in my self-care and my self-healing? I like that. So is this a turning point? No, I wouldn't say this is a turning point as much as this is a clarity around what area or aspect this is affecting you. Is it a lesson being revisited? Yes, I do feel that it has that component, especially with the threes. We often do things in threes because it helps to establish muscle memory. It helps to learn the lesson, to understand the pattern. Threes can, when you do something three times, it begins to establish a particular pattern. Or is it a moment of integration? No, definitely a lesson being revealed. I feel like that's really strong. Okay, so Three of Swords, how do you express yourself differently in this deck compared to the other decks that we work with? This is going to be really interesting. Can't wait to see this. Wow, another sword energy. Okay, so Eight of Swords. How do you express yourself differently? This is a deck that wants to release you, wants to give you that liberation, wants to free you from your mind, free you from the burdens of thought, or like I like to say, the burdens of the monkey mind, which comes from the ego space. The runes all around it really indicate to me that this deck wants to unlock the ancient wisdom that you have innately within you. DNA strands. And even though we're not necessarily seeing a DNA strand like we've seen in the last video, I feel like the binding can kind of indicate a little bit of that DNA strand energy that's happening. So an upgrade, an up-leveling. Also, she is blindfolded in this one here with the Eight of Swords, and she is completely bound. So her getting out of this is going to be a little more challenging. She's not bound at her ankles and her feet, though, so she can walk away. She may have to tiptoe. She may have to take her time. Obviously, we're seeing here she is... well, we can look at it a couple of ways. I'm seeing some branches in the tree, so it's like she's kind of caught up in some branches, but we could also view it as she's in the middle of some water and she's on kind of like a little snowbank. And so she's going to have to tiptoe really, gingerly in order to, because she's blindfolded, in order to, test out like, okay, I don't want to go in the water, but let me test where the boundaries are. Let me go backwards, or let me sort of walk in somewhat of a circle to find out where my edges are. Again, when we talk about that intuitive energy, I feel like that's what this encourages us to do as well, to get out of the monkey mind and to trust your other senses, to know that you can liberate yourself. And, this is a card as well that I want to say there is some pain, there is some effort that goes into getting out of this, but it's the kind of pain that you can heal from. Yeah, you may have some scars, but you can heal from it. And that's what the challenge is. A lot of people will stay stuck in this space or ruminate in this space because they're afraid of hurting themselves, of, falling in the water. But what if falling in the water is the liberation? Sometimes the only way out is through. And that's what I'm feeling here. So how does this deck express itself differently from other decks? I feel like it taps into the ancient wisdom and knowledge in a subconscious way or a fairly conscious way. It's triggering things because we have these visual things, these visual cues to pick up on. And it also does it in the story of this deck is really fun. It's really, I want to say, user-friendly. When we're looking at the energy of what is on the cards, it's pretty clear what's transpiring. So I feel like it's clear, it's direct, it wants to help liberate you, but it's not going to necessarily sugarcoat it. What it's going to do is it's going to tell you the truth. Yeah, you're in a sticky situation, but let's focus on the good parts. Your feet aren't bound. You have your spidey senses, and you've got some, spirit friends that are around you. If you listen to them rather than listening to the voices that are in your head, right? The rumination, the monkey mind, and then you allow your intuition to guide you, you will get out of this. You might be a little scraped up, but you will get out of this. And so I feel like that's really the energy of the deck. I love that. So when we talk about the tone of this deck, would we say it's gentler, sharper, quieter, or more emotional? I feel like what I've been describing is that it's sharper. It's crystal clear what it's trying to convey. The imagery is very crystal clear as well. Sharp edges, clear colors, clear figures. There's no second guessing here. There's no doubting. Emphasis. What is the emphasis of this deck? Is it choice, consequence, awareness, or action? Ooh, I'm going to say that the emphasis on this is really about awareness and a little bit of action. It's always going to give you, something to really focus on, something to move forward with. It's not going to leave you hanging. It's definitely going to give you a direction forward. But I feel like its sole purpose is to bring crystal clear awareness to what it is that your guidance is, and to the options that you have as a result of what you're kind of processing and going through. Wow, that's super cool. Okay, now we are going to do the same thing. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Now we're going to put this to the side, and we're going to do this for the Ten of Pentacles next. All right, and for those of you who are, sort of just joining me, this is the first time that I've done this series. And so I'm still kind of working out the kinks in the process, and, hopefully we'll find our flow, but I'm really enjoying exploring this. I came up with this idea because I always say I want to do these deck studies, and then I just get so busy with life and work and trying to get all that stuff done that sometimes I get a little bit lost. So I thought, you know what? I want to do a deck deep dive. Why don't I do it with content creation with my subscribers? Because then I know I'm going to do it, because I'm dedicated to you guys and not always so dedicated to myself. All right. So what repeating pattern, cycle, or theme do you, Ten of Pentacles, represent when you appear in our readings? Oh, interesting. Another 3. So threes is very, I love threes because it is about establishing a pattern, as I was saying. 3 of Wands is expansion. So when the Ten of Pentacles comes up, this makes so much sense. The repeating pattern that it's addressing, or the repeating theme that it's addressing, is you got to the Ten of Pentacles because you chose to expand. And now that you are at the 10 of Pentacles, you're not at the end, you're now at a new beginning. So it's addressing that new cycle, that new pattern of, okay, how are you going to expand into the next level of this, or what is coming next? And in this particular Three of Wands, again, we're seeing her blindfolded, and she's working her magic. And so I feel like when we're talking about this repeating pattern, the 10 of Pentacles is also encouraging you to use your magic, especially because we've got all these little, globes, these little glowing orbs. She's using her magic. She's using her energy very comfortably in the 10 of Pentacles. So when it comes up, it's reminding you that when you go to expand, you want to use what is already the resource within you. You don't have to go outside of yourself, or you don't have to reinvent the wheel or start from scratch. You need to work with what you have earned, and to work with what you have grown into and established. Ooh, I love that. Very cool. Is this a beginning, a middle, or an ending energy? Now, I'm going to say this is a beginning and an ending energy, because chicken or egg, right? You have to expand in order to get to the 10 of Pentacles. But then when you're at the 10 of Pentacles, you also need to expand. So I'm going to say it's a beginning energy and an ending energy. And is this something that builds, pauses, or resolves? I'm going to say it's a builder for sure. When we expand and grow, like we go through a contraction before we can really expand. And that is how we grow. So that's definitely a builder. All right. When you, 10 of Pentacles, show up, what part of the larger story is being highlighted at the moment? Interesting. Another wand. 5 of Wands. Okay. So I'm really feeling here like the larger part of the story is what we're putting our focus to. But what I'm really drawn to is the fact that 5 goes into 10. I'm a numbers girl, and so I'm always drawn to that. And 2 5s makes a 10. It cuts it in half. So whenever I hit something where we've got a number where the other number cuts it in half, it can fold itself into that card. That's significant. 5 is the change, the shift, the transformation. It also is an indicator of conflict that can come up. We talk a lot about training energy with the 5 of Wands. I talk about focus versus scattered energy. So when we're talking about the larger story, 10 of Pentacles also says, with this expansion that you're stepping into, the larger story is how do you want to put your ducks in a row for the next adventure? What ducks did you have to put in a row in order to get to this place here? We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The general basic structure, I feel is going to be where your starting off point. And when we look at the larger picture of things, I feel like this 5 is letting you know that there's always going to be some level of conflict, some level of transformative energy, something that you're going to need, an obstacle that you're going to need to find a way to overcome in order to get here. Again, we use our energy, to be able to do this. We're working our magic to do this. But the larger picture really is about what we're creating it to be. And we're creating it because we're learning on the fly. We're learning as we go. So it's not like, being born with an instruction manual for how you work and how you tick. It's developing it as you go. And I feel like that's what this 5 of Wands is coming through with. So is this a turning point, a lesson being revisited, or a moment of integration? I'm going to actually say, from a Spidey sense perspective, I'm getting a moment of integration coming up here, because that 5 of Wands energy, when we are choosing what we put our focus to, we are saying, I'm now going to work with this energy. And anytime we really work with this energy, we need to integrate it, or it naturally integrates within us, because we're learning how it works with our energy field, how it's going to work with the things that we need it to present itself with. So I really feel that this is a moment of integration when this comes up. Ooh, I love it. All right. How, 10 of Pentacles, how do you express yourself differently in this deck compared to other decks that we've worked with? The Devil. Wow. So this is a card. This is a deck that does things differently. This is a deck that does not need to please anyone. I feel a lot of rebellious energy coming from this Devil card. And while it looks like a crazy menacing figure here, it actually feels a little bit weak. And if we talk about the shadow work or the ego self that this represents, patterns and cycles that this represents, I feel like the devil is showing up in this big bad form so that you can connect to the fact that it actually doesn't need to be that big and bad. It's actually there to show you that rebellious side, to show you that you can break with tradition. Ten of Pentacles can hold a lot of that tradition energy. It is ancestral energy. It is the legacy that you're building, the legacy that you're leaving behind. So the devil says, well, make it your own. You don't have to follow in the footsteps of your grandfather or your father or your mother or your aunt. This is an invitation to do it in your own way. And I feel like that's exactly how this deck works for you. It shows you a completely different perspective. And again, we see her sometimes blindfolded and sometimes not blindfolded because she is going through the dream state and the waking state. And that is how we manifest and co-create our lives. This could be for this as well. The larger picture, the larger story for all of us is that we co-create the experiences that our soul wishes to have. And the devil says you don't have to do everything the way everybody else says it. You get to create your own legacy in whatever way you want it to be. You don't have to wear the gray and conform to everyone else, or certainly to conform to your own vices. You can do it differently because you've got the power, you've got the energy, you've got the magic. Wow. That feels so cool. Okay, so what's the tone of this? Is it gentler, sharper, quieter, or more emotional? I'm going to say the devil feels, especially with that rebel energy, it definitely feels sharp. But I also want to say it feels a little more emotional as well, because when you're encouraged to step into your rebel, you have to kind of generate a particular type of energy. So either it's your anger or your rage that motivates you. Sometimes it can be curiosity, but from a devil perspective, when you're dealing with shadow, it's less about curiosity and more about, I don't want to conform. So I'm going to, on purpose, self-sabotage, or on purpose, I'm going to do the opposite to what other people think I am supposed to do. And sometimes that's to your benefit and sometimes that's to your detriment. And so that can, you can make these decisions from a more emotional space. As well, the devil card, when we are dealing with patterns and cycles and shadow work, I always use the analogy because for me, food is a vice. For me, I'm an emotional eater. So if I am dealing with a pattern or vice that I'm having a difficult time breaking out of when I'm trying to, sort of establish my legacy or really connect in these ways, food is definitely going to be one of those patterns and cycles that is emotional. There's an emotional charge to it, or there's an emotional core to it. It begins on an emotional level. So I definitely feel that it's got an emotional tone. And then the emphasis, is it choice, consequence, awareness, or action? I'm going to say consequence. So that 10 of Pentacles comes up, and it's also going to really recognize for you or bring to the surface for you consequences. And sometimes consequences can be not so great. We often think of that word in more of a negative connotation, but sometimes there can be good consequences to a choice as well. And that's what I feel 10 of Pentacles is inviting you into, especially because it's indicating a new beginning and a fresh start. Ooh, I love that. Okay, let's check out our third card here, which is the Seven of Cups. And we have Mr. Neo here, who has decided that he wants to be a part of. As usual, as soon as the camera goes on, he's like, Mama, it's all about me. Okay, so here for the Seven of Cups, what repeating pattern, cycle, or theme does this Seven of Cups represent when it appears in a reading for us? Interesting. We have the Page of Swords. So I'm going to say to you here, Page of Swords is a card of curiosity. It's a card of an enthusiastic learner, an enthusiastic thinker, someone who gets excited, doesn't wait for things, is happy to dive on in, says yes, is the volunteer kind of energy. And I feel like when we're asking that repeating pattern or cycle or theme, sometimes the page, just like the Knight of Swords, can leap a little bit without looking, can get so enthusiastic that they kind of follow along, or they just, they charge ahead, and they don't necessarily have all the right answers or all the information, and the Page of Swords wants to learn from the Knight and the Queen and the King. So when the Knight, is quite impulsive, the Page thinks, oh, okay, well, that's how I'm supposed to be. And so I feel like when we're talking about repeating patterns, a repeating cycle, or a theme, the Seven of Cups, when it comes up, it's reminding you not to make an impulsive choice, to recognize that there's always a third place solution. There are always going to be multiple options to a particular problem, multiple solutions. And I feel like the Page of Swords is encouraging that Seven of Cups to be solutions focused, to be curious about what each of these options might bring, and to not be so rash or quick to judgment or quick to choose. Take a little bit of time. You don't have to ruminate. You don't have to get stuck in your head. But take your time to really think through the options that are being presented. And I feel like that's what this deck is going to provide. Is this a beginning, middle, or an ending energy? I'm going to say this feels actually like a middle energy, because it's going to support when that Seven of Cups card comes up for you in your journaling process, and in your guidance and your pulls. It's going to really inform you in ways that presents the information kind of in a very clear path in front of you, but always reminding you that you have free will and the choice is up to you. Page of Swords doesn't feel boxed into anything. Page of Swords just wants to learn. So whatever you choose, Page of Swords is going to learn it. It's going to support you. It's going to be a supportive path. Is this something that builds, pauses, or resolves? Resolves, because I was talking about resolution. So I'm going to say resolves for that. All right, Seven of Cups. When you show up, what part of the larger story is being highlighted with this deck? Oh, this is the one. Oh, the wheel. I love this. Wow, and it makes sense because all of these choices are also in a wheel, right? They're also in a circular fashion. So, this is really cool. Okay, so part of the larger choice is, or the larger story is, it's choice. The wheel comes through and is about change, shift, kind of like a destiny energy, divine order, divine timing energy. And the Seven of Cups, when that's coming up, it's saying you've got a couple of choices. Some of these choices are real. Some of these choices are not. Change is upon you. And that's why these things are coming up for you. So don't feel necessarily the overwhelm. Understand that all of these choices are coming up because these are all things that you're going to be able to use when you're moving forward on your path, because the change is here. You're getting ready to open up to a new pathway, a new direction. And which ones do you feel intuitively or psychically called to? And this also encourages you to use your discernment in terms of what is a false flag and what is real, the dream versus the illusion. The wheel doesn't inform you on that, but the wheel puts things in your path that cause situations or circumstances to show up that actually show you who might be an illusion in your life or who might not be supportive in the way that you think that they are. The wheel is going to, you spin the wheel and you end up in a different vantage point. There's a different perspective for you to see. You start on one side of the arena, you end up on the other side of the arena, and everything looks different. So I feel like that's how that wheel is showing up. That's fantastic. Is it a turning point, a lesson being revisited, or a moment of integration? Definitely a turning point. All right, so Seven of Cups. How do you express yourself differently in this deck compared to other decks that we have worked with? Interesting. We got the Death card. Wow. Okay. So interesting that we had the Devil before, and this looks very similar to, the Devil figure. So I'm just going to kind of point that out. So I feel like this Seven of Cups and this deck in general, when you're dealing with those dreams and illusions and trying to determine or decipher or discern what's really going to work for you, the Death card comes through to basically offer you the change, to offer you the challenge, to offer you the choice to shift. Yes, death comes through whether you want it to or not. And death in this situation, death might actually remove, 3 of those options for you. And you might have had your heart set on that laurel wreath, and that's one of the first ones that gets dissolved or removed. You want to think of it in terms of, okay, it's being removed. It must be being removed from my path for a reason. It's no longer an option for me for a reason, because death wants to help me to say, that's not a path that's going to get me anywhere. That's not an option that's really going to support me. I'm going to instead go with a different option because it's going to take me in a different direction. So I feel like this Death card really almost encourages like working together. It's not like death is trying to take her. She's curious about death. And, I think we saw this in another, I think we talked about this in another previous video. But the feeling that I get here with her is that, all of her, friends, her creature friends are running away. And she's just like, why is everyone running away? I'm kind of curious. Like, he looks a little scary, but I'm really curious about what they're running away from. Are they running away from him, or are they running away from the fire? I want to see what's on the other side of the hill. I want to kind of get up there. And maybe I have my bravery and my courage will take me, to that. Will he hurt me, or will he help me? Who is he? What is he to me? And so I feel like this deck is really going to encourage you in those ways, that when you do have change and there is a transformation that is coming, death is wanting to work with you in order to make the choices that are going to help you to move forward. So this deck is more collaborative in that way. Wow, I love that. Okay, so the tone of it, gentler, sharper, quieter, or more emotional? Well, I'm going to say this is definitely sharper, but also an interesting approach. I feel like this Death card, in the context of this deck and the tone of it overall, is gentler than other Death cards that we see. So I'm going to actually use the term gentler for this one, and I like that. The emphasis of the deck: choice, consequence, awareness, or action. Action and choice. Definitely action and choice. Choice, action on those choices. Wow, this is fantastic. Woo! I got chills as we're working through this. I love it. Okay, so let's take a look at the three cards again that we have been evaluating today, which I think is fantastic. So something to keep in mind: these aren't meanings. In these decks, they're conversations, right? In these cards, they're conversations. And that's what we're doing. We're having a very interesting, in-depth conversation with the cards. And if you happen to be following along and you've got your own Under the Oak Tarot, feel free to pull some different cards as well, and ask these questions of some of the different cards in the deck, and just kind of notice what you feel. What are your interpretations and your intuitions telling you about how this deck is working with you? So this week, we are focusing on seeing the threads, right? This is about connecting the dots, learning how the deck thinks. So we want to see the threads in all of it and weave those threads into our experience. So this week, you want to pay attention to repeated themes or familiar situations this week, and reflect on which of these cards helps you to understand the larger pattern or the story unfolding. So, connect to those energies in your life of betrayal or heartbreak, or where you need to self-heal and self-care. Connect to that legacy energy, arriving, using your magic to support you in what you're going to be building moving forward. And that Seven of Cups energy, discernment between the dream and the illusion, and understanding that all of these choices that you have are here to support the path that you're moving forward, but you always want to allow the other cards to let you know which direction you're going to take. We always have free will, but there are definitely cards that are going to help us to lean in one direction or another. And I feel like in your everyday life, you want to look for these opportunities to kind of bring the card energies to life, because that's really what it's about. It's exploring in our day-to-day. Okay. So that is our Divinely Decked for this segment of the series Deck Deep Dives, week 4. So next week, join me again. We've got 2 more weeks to go on this deck. And I believe next week we are exploring the royalty cards, if I'm not mistaken. So come and join me and find out what we're going to learn about those royalty decks and how we can make it all work for us when we work with the beautiful guidance of this deck. We will see you on the flip side, and transform well. That's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. It was great to connect with you guys. Please like, subscribe, and comment for more content like this. And feel free to follow me on Blue Sky for even more content every single day. Can't wait to see you guys next week for another installment of Black Feather Couture, Divining the VIP Life.